are the psychic consequences of omnipotent power? Let's talk about One Punch Man, because One Punch Man seeks to answer that question. This is a suggestion from a viewer. This is an anime and a manga, Japanese, obviously, about a hero who is a hero, quote, just for fun. And I watched the first episode of the anime. I haven't looked at the manga, but I think it's important to talk about this because it has some twists on some very common literary themes, some of which are actually very, very old. So we have two images of One Punch Man. One, there he's very, very badass. And then the other, this I believe is from the manga, where he's looking very average. And in the series, he alternates between these two looks. And I think that's kind of part of his psyche and what he's experiencing. So let me go ahead and I'll do some basic background of this. You can go ahead and watch it. I'll put a link to the site that I watched it on. You can watch the series and sort of judge for yourself whether you think it's really cool or just what you think about it. But anyway, the series starts off and the man who will become One Punch Man is walking along very depressed. Like, up comes a crab monster and who says, "I'm going to kill you now." And he says, "All right, whatever. I just don't care right now because I can't find a job, I'm unemployed, and I feel empty." And the crab says, "I see the same empty look in your eyes that are in mine, so I will not kill you today." And later on, One Punch Man finds this child that the crab monster is seeking to kill, and something kind of snaps in him and he decides to save this child. And he kills the crab monster by pulling his eyeball and then all of his brains out in a very spectacular, gory fashion. After that, he decides, "I'm going to go become a hero." 3 years later, he's become the most powerful hero that could possibly be imagined, and he can kill anything with one punch. That's the setup for the entire deal. Now, the consequence of that is he's always talking to himself about how empty he feels, about how there's no thrill in life, about how having omniscient power makes life boring. And at the heart of this is actually some very interesting conflicts. I've said in some of my story crafting videos that you have to have conflict in a story in order for a story to exist. You have to feel that the characters are in danger in order for you to care about what sort of events are happening. In this case, you have a character who's omnipotent, essentially. So the danger is actually not physical. The danger, as he expresses it, is a psychic one. His psychic fear, his psychic danger is nihilism and solipsism. These are actually older literary themes from the Romantic period. The fear is that he will not have meaning in his life, that his life will be meaningless. And he says at a certain point, there has not been any decrease in the amount of monster attacks in this world since I've become a hero. So you could say that what I've done has had no impact. So he's essentially expressing a nihilistic feeling, a feeling that his life lacks meaning or virtue, right? Even though he's become a hero, his life lacks meaning or virtue. The other thing that he'll say all the time is, "I'm a hero just for fun." But he's actually not a hero just for fun, because I described that opening scene where he decides to save the boy. And when he saves the boy, he feels a thrill. He feels something inside of him. His heart beats and he awakens to this idea that he should become a hero. Because before this, he was depressed and empty. Well, he spends the rest of the series, I'll presume, trying to pursue that goal. He is not a hero just for fun. He's a hero because in that one instance of heroism, he felt alive and not empty. And he's essentially attempting to recapture that. Now, in the end of the first episode, or in the middle of the first episode, we'll do the middle first. In the middle, he encounters the world's strongest man, this absolute giant who is destroying entire city blocks and killing thousands like nothing. Which, of course, when I watch this and he says that there's all these monster attacks, I'm thinking, who's rebuilding all this infrastructure and all these buildings? Like, this would be like a horrible world to live in. But anyway, this giant guy's runching around. He's destroying everything. One Punch Man comes up and the strongest man accidentally kills his brother who's turned him into this giant and feels sad about it and angry. And One Punch Man is thrilled when the giant attacks him, but he's unable to kill him, and he kills the giant with one punch and says, "Oh, I guess life is empty." Then he has this dream that these subterranean monsters are attacking, and they provide him with this challenge. They almost defeat him. He's exhausted at the end of it as he faces the final challenge. Then he wakes up. He wakes up and realizes that life doesn't have any challenges for him. And in reality, the dream was the dream of what he wishes, which is for a lack of emptiness, for nihilism to not take over his life anymore. And then the real subterraneans come out, and they're totally wimpy, and he just wrecks them without even trying. So what's the conflict in the story? The conflict is a man against himself. It's the man against his own internal crisis. The danger is nihilism. The failure state is the embracing of nihilism, the embracing of meaninglessness, the despair. So essentially he's fighting against his own despair. So the fail state is despair, and the success state is meaning, is achieving meaning in one's life, right, through whatever means. So that's how the story conflict is actually set up. It's not actually about him being in danger at all. It's not like the superhero complex or the Superman complex, where Superman's fail state is to not save the innocent people. It's to not stop the villain. Superman is rarely, if ever, in danger of dying, although that does happen in lots of stories where there's kryptonite involved, things like that. But it's really that his fail state is failing in his mission to protect innocent people. Not so with One Punch Man. One Punch Man doesn't seem to really care about the people that are being killed by monsters. He cares more about the thrill of a challenge. And that's the thrill that he experiences at the beginning, and that's the thrill that he's trying to seek out throughout the rest of the show, and I would presume throughout the rest of the series. So it's an interesting look at conflict. The conflict is really a man fighting against his own internal feelings of despair. This is a romantic idea, instead of a man trying to necessarily survive. So that's what's interesting about that particular sort of plot goal. His goal is to achieve meaning and to avoid nihilism, rather than to overcome the bad guy. Overcoming the bad guy is easy. It's finding a bad guy that is a challenge to him to overcome so he can find the meaning. So that's very interesting. I thought I'd give my opinion on that. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Give me other suggestions, especially stuff I can watch in 20 minutes. I'm always very happy to give a little bit of an analysis of. Other notes about One Punch Man that I forgot to drop in. I actually do like the style of it. I think it looks good. It has some very bizarre stylistic elements. As he fights harder and harder, he gets more and more distorted. The art style gets more and more choppy. The bodies become elongated and very, very weird looking. And I'm not sure quite what that represents yet, but I think it represents like his emotions coming alive. He's becoming more emotional as he fights, and so the style of the art begins to change. But overall, I liked the first episode. I thought it was very funny. I think it's got a lot of comedy to it, even though I'm watching it subtitled. So those are some other thoughts of that. So don't forget to visit my website. It's dvspress.com, davidvstewart.com, and please let me know what you think about it. I'm always happy to have a conversation, especially if it's full of tasty, good arguments and things like that. So thanks. Have a good one.